بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم صدق الله العظيم. Respected brothers and my dear young friends, previously we started the Surah Yasin, and we mentioned the virtues and benefits of Surah Yasin, and we talked and explained regarding the initial ayah Yasin and the letters, the broken letters. And after that, we had a break. The Isha time was a bit early, so it wasn't possible to do the tafsir. But anyway, today, inshallah, we'll carry on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran regarding Surah Yasin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with Surah Yasin, and then after saying Yasin, He mentions Wal Quran al Hakim, that by the oath of the wise Quran. This waw at the beginning is called waw qasamiyya, and it shows when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath on the Quran when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was crowned with prophethood, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him to propagate the deen and to call people towards Islam and to call people towards obedience and the oneness of Allah, because at that time the whole climate and the atmosphere in Makkah was of shirk. There was many idols that were being worshipped along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to purify the people and to take them out of this darkness and this dirt of shirk. So as soon as he started his work, his propagation, the mushriks, the pagans of Makkah, they realized and they saw a threat to their authority. So they started to oppose and they started to confront Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to keep the masses, the general people, the simple people away from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to prevent them from joining Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and accepting Islam and coming into a fold of Islam. The chiefs of Makkah and the people of the hierarchy, they started to make multiple accusations and allegations upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And out of the many accusations that they put and hurled at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one which they peddled and they pushed a lot was that they were saying, "Innaka lasta mursala." But O Muhammad, you are not a prophet. Indeed, you are not a prophet. You are a self-proclaimed prophet. Where did you get this prophethood from? Who crowned you a prophet? Could Allah not find anybody else? Could Allah not send an angel? So this was the kind of accusations that they were putting out upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to influence the majority. The majority of people generally are simple-minded people, and they go with what they are told. And if something sits in their minds and it adds up, they follow it. So Islam was such a religion and is such a religion that if a person applies his mind and thinks of it, looks at it logically, then he will say that there is no religion, or there is no way, there is no tariqah better than Islam. So these people were at risk, that all these people that are in Makkah, the low-end people, the poor people, the slaves, they're going to listen to his message. So straight away they're going to fall for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one of the first accusations that they threw and they heard at Rasulullah was, "Innaka lasta mursala." Then when that accusation finished, then they came with another message that in hadha illa ifkun iftara. Then they started attacking the Quran. In hadha illa ifkun iftara wa anu alaykumun akharun. That this Quran is just a lie, and that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has forged it. He's made it up, and he has other people, meaning scholars of the Christian and Jews, and they are assisting him. That this claim that he is saying that the Quran comes to me, or Jibreel alayhi salam comes to me, Wahi comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mushriks of Makkah, so he said, this is nothing. No angel descends on him. This is not a Wahi. In fact, he has learned these things from other people. He has learned these things, he memorized it, and then he narrates it to us. And we think, he says the Quran, it's not the Quran. So this was the second allegation. In fact, they were saying near the Mount Safa, there was a trader, a Bedouin, a non-Arab person. And they say that he goes to learn from him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then refutes that as well. That how can he learn from somebody who can't even speak basic Arabic? And the Quran is fasih, the Quran is so eloquent that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenges the mushriks of Makkah that bring one ayat similar to it, they can't even bring one ayat. How can a person who is non-Arabic, who is an Ajami, how can he teach Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam such an eloquent language? Then Mufassirin say that if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taking this from Jews and other scholars, then وَلَوْ كَانَ مَعْخُوذًا مِنَ الْيَهُودِ أَوْ غَيْرُمْ لَتَمَكَّنَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ مِنْهُ أَيْضًا. If Rasulullah was taking this from the Yahuds and he was narrating, then why don't the mushriks of Makkah go and do the same? Tell them, you also go to the Yahud and the mushriks, to the Christians, and you also bring a Quran like them. But they knew that Rasulullah was not getting it from the mushriks. He was not getting from the Yahuds or the Nasara. This was divinely coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they made another accusation, that Asatirul Awwaleen, that whatever Rasulullah is narrating to us is Asatirul Awwaleen, is the old people's tales. He's heard it somewhere. He went Sham for business for 2 times. So when he went Sham, there's old people there. So they must have told him these stories. He memorized the stories. He comes back and he's narrating to us and he's saying it's the Quran. It's not the Quran, it's from Sham. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that they were hurling multiple accusations until they came to a stage where they say, Innama yuallimu bashar. This Quran is not from Allah. This is insan teaching him. So when all these accusations were leveled against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's tariqah was that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not retaliate. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not go out of his way to explain or to have a call with them. In fact, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed busy, engrossed in his objective. And from this we get a lesson. That whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses somebody for khidmat of deen, or whenever a person himself thinks that I need to make changes in my life, I need to become a better person, then sometimes he will see that his near and dear, his own family, have become against him. They taunt him. Buzu baniga, Sufi baniga. And they taunt him. So at that time, what should we do? Carry on. Don't retaliate. There's no need to fight back. You stay engrossed in your objective. You want to become a better person. You want to get closer to Allah. You carry on walking. You carry on doing what you have to do. And don't turn to these people. And when Allah... So anyway, the mushriks of Makkah were attacking Rasulullah from all fronts. And why were all these attacks being held? Because they wanted to cripple and paralyze this deen of Islam. They wanted Rasulullah, they wanted to make him quiet. But Rasulullah, rather than retaliating, he carried on doing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took on the role of defending Rasulullah and protecting Rasulullah. So all the objections and all the accusations that they were making, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started to clear them and started to answer them in the initial ayahs of Surah Yasin. But before he started answering them, he came with the ayah wal Qur'anil Hakim, that the oath of the wise Quran. And why is the oath taken? An oath is taken for 2 reasons. Number 1, to show the importance and the emphasis of what is going to be said afterwards. When a person says, by Allah. So number 1, he says, by Allah, he's trying to say that the sentence I'm going to say afterwards is very important. Pay attention and listen to me. And number 2, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath, then whatever he takes an oath on, then it shows that that thing is so important, so significant in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in different places in the Quran, he takes oath on different things. Wal Fajr, he takes oath on the time of Fajr. He takes oath on Asr, meaning he's showing that how important is time, how important, how valuable is time for a believer. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wal Qur'anil Hakim. Number 1, he's saying that this Quran is so important, it is so significant. And number 2, he's trying to say that what I am going to say after Wal Qur'anil Hakim, Innaka lamil mursaleen, this is very important. And he brings the qasam to emphasize this. So anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Quran and he brings the sifr of the Quran as Hakim, wal Quran al Hakim, that by I am taking qasam of the Quran which is filled with wisdom. Because the person who is revealing it, Allah, he is himself, he is sahib hikmat, he is the owner of hikmat. So when the word comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, imagine the hikmat that is filled in the Quran. Every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hikmah, whether we understand or we don't understand. Shah Waliullah Dehli Rahmatullah Alayhi, in his Hujjatullah al-Baligha, his kitab, which is a very great kitab, he mentions some of the hikmats and the secrets behind the ibadats we do, the wuzu that we do, the salah we pray, salatul hajat, and some of the things we do. And one of the things he talks about is the hikmat that when salatul istisqa takes place, then the imam sahib should reverse his cloak, and then after he prays namaz, then he should put it on the right way. So for us is some action that is done. Shah Waliullah Dehli Rahmatullah goes, the hikmat behind this is that we are trying that when the imam sahib does this, then he is trying to say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, "Oh Allah, we came to you in a state which was not very good. But Ya Allah, after this namaz, we have done tawbah, and now we have changed our state. We have undone the cloak which is the wrong way around, and we put it the right way around. Our life which was wrong way around, our life which was on the wrong track, Ya Allah, from now when we go after this tawbah and this istighfar and this seeking of water, we are going back to you with our cloak the right way. We are going back to you. We are going back from this majlis and from this namaz with the intention that we are going to put our life on track as well." And likewise, so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees this, then you can expect that inshallah that so much water will come. And then he says that what's the hikmah of going out to pray namaz in the out of town, in the open area? And he says that when a person goes in the open area, number one, the bigger the jamaat, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tawajjuh comes. But when you go in the open area, you take your animals with you, and you take the children with you, and you take the elderly with you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna Allah yastahi min dhi shaybatil muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes ashamed of a person that has haya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has haya of a person who has white beard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees the children crying, masoom, not even a sin on them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees animals. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees all this, then the tawajjuh and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, coupled with the namaz, coupled with istighfar, becomes so concentrated that inshallah you can have hopes that the rain will fall. So likewise in the Quran, the ahkam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on believers, the rulings that He has told us, the things that He has told us to do, and in nowadays, when they look into it scientifically, the eating, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has Rasulullah instructed us to eat with our hands and to lick our fingers, and there are so many other things that we do, drinking water sitting down and drinking water in 3 sips. All these things which were not known before, now we know that okay, at that time it was a command of Allah. But he has so much hikmah that scientists say, Imam Ghazali says, that when a person drinks water in one gulp, then this can cause problems to his kidney. Because his kidney wants water gradually. And when you drink water all of a sudden, then the whole kidney gets flooded. And it becomes hard for the kidney to root this water. And that water usually goes out in the urine passage without much benefit to our body. When a person drinks water in sips, then that kidney diverts and reroutes that water to exactly the parts that need the water. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us before we even science told us, when we eat with our hands, then there are so many, one Hazrat Allama Anwar Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullahi mentions, somebody says a story about him, that Hazrat Allama Anwar Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullahi was in teaching in Darul Deoband. He was the muhaddith at the time, very great personality, an alim of a high caliber. Photography memory. He knew kitabs inside out, and in fact his students say that sometimes he used to teach and he used to give references, that this hadith, the reference of this is found in this kitab. Just the reference was like 1 or 2 sides and by heart. And sometimes he used to read the actual Arabic that was in the reference. So one day he read the reference, and after reading the reference he said that this reference that I've just mentioned to you, I read this kitab 18 years ago. I read this kitab 18 years ago, and he read the whole ibarat in Arabic word to word. And Hazrat Muhammad Tayyib Rahmatullahi mentions that he was writing a book, he was compiling a book, and in there's a person who was known to be a very great liar in history of Islam. A very great liar. I forgot his name. Hassan al-Kadhab Ghaliban or something like this. So Hazrat Tayyib Rahmatullahi is saying that I was writing a book, and this particular topic came up, so I thought, let me write a few things about this person. So I didn't know where to find information about him, so I went to Allama Anwar Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullah. I said, Hazrat, can you give me some stories or some references regarding this person? I forgot the exact name. I think he's Hassan al-Kadhab. So Allama Anwar Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullah says that read this kitab, fulana kitab. Give me a list of 5-6 kitabs. So the Qaiti says, Hazrat, I've got ihtimam of Darul Deoband, principal, where am I going to get time to do all these kitabs? Aap mujhe kuch bata do. So Allama Nur Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullah Alayhi, this was just a couple of months before he passed away. He was ma'zur, he became very ill towards the end of his life. So he said, he goes, Acha chalo. Because he was born in this place, he was born in this year, and he said these lies, and one of the most famous lies that he said was this lie. And before he died, he said this lie, and he died in this year, and he died in this place. So the Qaidi Rahmatullah goes, Hazrat, it looks like you've just done mutala of this person recently. So he goes in a very calm way, he said, Ji nahi. Yes, but not really. Acha, Hazrat, kab mutala kiya? He goes, some years ago I had to go Egypt, and I happened to go into the library, in the Misr library. And when I went into a library, I was working on this kitab came out, so I read it then, and I remember everything from there. So he said, Allama Nur Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullah. So the story I was saying that once some ulama came from Misr, and they sat in his majlis. Some say there was a person by the name of Sheikh Rada al-Misri, and he came India, and he was a very great alim in Al-Azhar University. So when he came India, he went to many seminaries and darulums in India. Then he came to Deoband at the end. When he came to Darul Deoband, he told the motto himself, I've gone throughout India, and India is known to be a cradle of ilm. There's ilm here, but nothing fascinating. I've not found anything which is something that has really intrigued me. But let's go to the Dar Hadith. Allama Nur Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullah is teaching there. So he called a student and he wrote a parchi, small letter, and he said that I am coming now with a guest from Misr, and as soon as he enters, start teaching in Arabic. So he's teaching Urdu, start teaching Arabic. So because the motto himself brought the Sheikh Rada Misri into the Darsgah of Darul Deoband Bukhari Sharif, and he sat beside Allama Nur Shah Kashmiri. As Allama Nur Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullah started to talk in Arabic, and he started doing tashri of the hadith, and he said it had so much effect, such a profound dars, that Sheikh Rada al-Misri, every few moments he would listen and he would stand up and say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I've never seen ilm like this, to an extent that when he finished the dars, he stood up, he went and he kissed Hazrat Allama Nur Shah Kashmiri Rahmatullah on his forehead and said, Wallahi ma ra'aytu mithlak. I've never seen anybody like you. I've never seen anybody like you. This was the ilm here. So anyway, there's another story about him that I was mainly mentioning, that once some ulama came and they went in the kitchen to eat in the dining hall. Allama Nur Shah Kashmiri started eating with his hands. So these people were accustomed to eating with the fork and knife. So this was Nur Shah Kashmiri, that why do you not eat with a fork and knife? So Nur Shah Kashmiri stretched his hand out. I said, this is my fork. But there's a difference between my fork and your fork. And just on this, he gave 6 or 7 differences. He said, number 1, my fork was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your fork was made somewhere else. My fork has natural enzymes that after I finish eating, the food is digested. It helps you digest. My fork has temperature control. So when I put the food in my mouth, before I put it, I know it's hot. You will put it in your mouth and you burn. My fork is mouth friendly. So if it touches my teeth, it doesn't hurt me. But imagine the fork touches you. Somebody uses a fork or spoon and it touches your teeth, it hurts. You get a bit of a shock. My fork is sunnah of Rasulullah. This is not the sunnah of Rasulullah. And he mentioned, just on the fork, he mentioned so many points. So what I'm saying is, the commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put upon us, and the rulings, and whatever He's told us to do, everything is filled with hikmah. Whether we know or we don't know, whether we understand or we don't understand, but our heart should be fully convinced, and we should have conviction that everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained and told us to do is filled with hikmah. Whether right now we like it, we don't like it, but a time will come that we realize that no, it was filled with hikmah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Yasin wal Quran al Hakim, that by the oath of the Quran which is filled with wisdom, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is filled with wisdom. And that's why whoever connects himself to a Quran, whoever recites the Quran, and then further on goes and tries to understand the Quran, inshallah, he will also become a sahib hikmat. He will also get wisdom in his life. Because when a person ponders in the Quran and he sees the different, then all of a sudden his sight and how he looks at things will be totally different to what other people look at. The angle that he looks at will be different to what other people look at. And that's what wisdom is, that a person understands how, where, when, how to do it. So anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this, and some say that over here Hakim is in the meaning of Muhkam. That Yasin wal Quran Hakim, ay wal Quran al Muhkam. And what does Muhkam mean? That which is strengthened, which is reinforced, which is very strong, which is fortified. That this Quran that I am giving oath on is fortified, it is reinforced. Why? How is it reinforced? It is reinforced in such a way that لا يأتي الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه. That no falsehood can approach it from the front or back. This Quran is divinely preserved and protected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In terms of tilawat, in terms of qiraat, in terms of the words, in terms of tafsir, in terms of the mana, everything is preserved. The way it should be recited, the different qiraats, they are all preserved and they all have the authentic chain. The hifz of the Quran, if the Quran was to be destroyed, may Allah protect. But if there was no Quran left in book form, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made such people who are 5 and 6 and 7-year-old children that they can get together and they can get the whole Quran back into order. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, La ya'ti you can know but tafsir. The tafsir, nobody can insert anything which is not authentic. It will be protected from all sides. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wal Quran al Hakim, wal Quran al Muhkam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking oath on this Quran which is reinforced. And why is he taking the oath? He's trying to say that the next thing, that innaka lamina al-mursaleen, that oh Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these people are saying lasta mursala. No, I am taking oath on the Quran that by the oath of this Quran, you are a Nabi. Whether they want to believe you or not, you are a Nabi. You are from the galaxy of the Anbiya sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings Quran al-Hakim to emphasize the next message, which is Muhkam, which is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is truly a Nabi. And that when you are a Nabi, innaka lamina al-mursaleen, ala siratin mustaqim, you are on the true path. And whoever follows you will also be on the correct path. Because if this Quran was not true, then you would not have been a Nabi, then you would not have been on the path. But this Quran is true, and you are a prophet, and you are also on the right path. And whoever follows you, whoever takes your path, he will also be on the right path, and this path will take him. وَإِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي إِلَىٰ صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ صِرَاطِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you guide people to the correct path. Which path? The path that takes you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, we'll leave it there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the correct understanding and give us tawfiq to stick with this Quran, recite it, try to understand it, memorize it wherever possible. I mentioned before that in some ahadith they mentioned regarding Surah Yasin that Rasulullah said that لَوَدِدْتُ, I have great hopes and I have desires that every person of my ummah memorizes Surah Yasin. So it's the qalbul Quran, it is the heart of the Quran, it should also be in our heart. So those people who are not hafiz of the Quran, of the Yasin Sharif, at least try to do hifz of the Yasin. It was something that Rasulullah wanted. And it's easy over a couple of weeks, inshallah. If you make tertib with a local hafiz or somebody, inshallah, you'll be to do hifz of it. Inshallah, it's something that Rasulullah wanted, and it's something that he desired. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the correct understanding and tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah bil alamin wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.